6.5 million students in the United States ages 3 through 21 are currently classified as requiring special education. Thanks to the acts like IDEA, which stands for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, every student with a disability is guaranteed the right to a free education.
This is important to note because special education services have not always been so inclusive. Before IDEA, education for people with disabilities was either non-existent, low quality, or discriminatory. In Dubuque today, there are special education services offered at every public school. Today we are going to compare and contrast special education services at both the elementary and secondary levels.
There are numerous services for students with disabilities in Dubuque. Just to name a few, some important services are specialized support for students on the autism spectrum, including the STARS curriculum, which stands for the Strategies for Teaching Based on Autism Research, specialized support for students with social, emotional, and behavioral disorders, transition support for entitled students 14 and older, including a Lifetime Learning Center, partnership with the Northeast Iowa Community College, job coaches, and opportunities for skills and training.
Here to talk more about the special education services offered in Dubuque is Lisa Benko, a special education teacher at Carver Elementary School.
I would say probably in addressing the mental health issues. I know that's kind of a big topic kind of nationwide across America, but even within our district, they've implemented the structured behavior programs, the therapeutic classrooms. So I think that's been the biggest improvement. I don't know if there's necessarily more kiddos with mental health issues, but I think there are more diagnosed kiddos with mental health issues.
Yeah.
I think that's been a big improvement for our district. And just for our building personally, for the past 3 years, we've had a special education coach.
Amazing.
So kind of just a resource for us just to ask about goals, or someone that can take our questions to our administrators at the forum, kind of have more connections, and just be a liaison for us. So that's been a good add in the past 3 years here at Carver.
Both Donna Shaw and Lisa Benko had some excellent insights on how the elementary and secondary special education services compare to one another. First, we will hear from Lisa Benko and then Donna Shaw.
I would say, in my opinion, two differences. One would be in elementary setting, a lot of our kiddos are pull out, so they're removed from the gen ed setting to get their academic instruction. And in secondary special education, it's probably more co-taught, where the kiddos aren't removed. And then kind of that goes along with that, so pull out, kind of we're focusing more on closing that educational gap that they may not need special education services when the kiddos get to secondary education. And for those students who still need special education services, the focus might be on preparing them for post-secondary education, or what they're going to do after they graduate from high school.
Okay, well, that's kind of funny that you asked me that, because I appreciate you sending me the questions early. And I pondered on that because I'm like, really? Secondary mostly are just big kids, big little kids. But you have to think about transition into the adult world when you're working with secondary, and that's really an important thing. We didn't used to worry about that, and then the statistics came out on how poorly students who had a disability were doing in the real world, the adult world. And so that is why the legislation led to building in transition services. And I think that's probably a key thing, because I think when I was teaching even little folks, I always had in the back of my head, what does this student need to be happy as an adult? What skills? And that's where the hidden curriculum comes in, that we're always teaching a lot of things that aren't written in the curriculum. But I think for secondary, you're getting close to the end, and so there's more pressure to make sure you have them prepared to be an adult and to be happy, because that's the power of special education. I should get off my soapbox, but I always think that we change lives and we make futures. And if you can get through and give them the skills and the knowledge that they need to be successful in the adult world, well, you've changed the lives of that person, of their future spouse if they get married, of their children, of their parents because of all their worry when their child was growing up, and all the siblings. And so when you network out and think about how many lives you're changing when you provide good instruction and help people for their future, it makes a big difference. So.
Inclusive education is an approach to serving children with disabilities within general education settings, and it also supports and welcomes diversity among all the students, eliminating social exclusion as well as addressing their individual differences and needs. Inclusive education includes making adaptations for students in the classroom who are going to need more support. Here to talk more about inclusive education with us today is Donna Shaw, a professor at Loras College who has spent numerous years as an educator for students with disabilities.
That's a great question, and it really varies so much. But I can give you some examples. Like here at Loras, when I find out that I might have a student who has to have some accommodations for class, instead of giving them that accommodation, I build that into my lesson for everyone. So you probably remember when you've had me the advanced organizers or graphic organizers or the warm-up. Some of those I build into my lesson in order to accommodate the needs of some of my adult students. And so when I was teaching, I had to do the same thing. Sometimes I had to repeat instruction multiple times, and so I might actually go, if I was teaching elementary, I might actually go get a student when I thought they were free and bring them in and reteach something that I had taught them, because some of the disabilities that some of the students have require repetition. Maybe they have a memory issue. And so if they don't have repetition and also repetition in various modalities using the different senses, they're not going to get it. Well, if I pretend that they're going to be like everybody else, and that's what I do, then I'm denying them what they need. And so I feel real strongly that you have to adapt, but it kind of depends on the disability. And so I just always figure if I teach to the students who I think are going to struggle the most, whether it's preschool, elementary, or adult, and if I address it in that sense, then I'm probably going to hit everybody. And yet you have to have the challenge in there so you're not boring people too. So you have to kind of keep that targeted, So. When I did professional development for the school district, and I'd have all these teachers come in and I had to teach them, I would always have the weakest teacher that I knew was going to be there in my mind. And so I would start my lesson with that. And so I always did that with all my classes, but with staff development I did that.